You know how sometimes a movie hits you in a way you didn't expect? Not because you relate to it, not because you see yourself in the characters, but because it feels like you've stumbled into someone else's diary, a diary you were never supposed to read. And somehow, it still hits a part of you you didn't even know existed. That's how Look Back felt when I watched it in the cinema. I'm not an artist. I don't draw. I don't stay up all night sketching panels or obsessing over deadlines. Look Back didn't remind me of my own life. It reminded me of something even rarer, how powerful it is to witness someone else's. And from that moment, I knew I wanted to talk about this film. So let's start with the two people whose lives shape everything that follows. Fujino and Kyomoto couldn't be more different. They're just two school kids who love to draw, but their worlds could not be further apart. Fujino grows up surrounded by noise. Classmates praising her, teachers hyping her up, everyone telling her she's talented. She draws because people applaud her for it. Kyomoto grows up in silence. A shut-in who barely attends school, swallowed by anxiety, drawing alone in her room because it's the only place she feels safe. And strangely, they don't even meet first. They collide through a school newspaper. Fujino sees Kyomoto's art, and her confidence shatters. Kyomoto sees Fujino's art and finds someone to admire from afar. Two lives, two worlds, two different reasons to create, connected by a single sheet of paper. And this is where the film completely blindsided me. Because I'm not an artist. I don't stay up worrying about whether a line is clean enough. I don't stress over lighting or panel flow. I don't understand how artists can obsess over the smallest detail for hours. And then the next day, proudly draw something messy. Because that's honestly how they felt in that moment. But Look Back opened my eyes to something I never considered. Artists aren't fighting the page, they're fighting themselves. Every stroke is a confession. Every unfinished sketch is a moment of clarity. Every bad drawing is sometimes the most honest thing they'll ever create. Fujino creates out of insecurity. Kyomoto creates out of passion. Different motivations, same internal ache. And the film doesn't just tell you all this, it shows in the way the animation is depicted. One thing I really love about Look Back is how it uses still frames. Not as shortcuts, not as filler, but as deliberate artistic choices. They mirror the manga's one-shot format, a direct homage to static panels that freeze emotion in time. Some people felt the sudden stillness was jarring. Others thought it elevated the storytelling. But to me, those still frames felt like emotional punctuation marks. Moments where the movie pauses, lets the silence breathe, and forces you to sit in the rawness of the moment. And just to prove the contrast, see, anime doesn't need this to hit hard, but Look Back chooses not to use it. Muted colors, soft lines, piano notes hanging in the air, shots that look lifted straight out of the manga. Each frame feels intentional, like a breath held between moments. Sometimes a single image says more than any explosion of animation ever could. But animation isn't always about spectacle sometimes. It's about connection. And nothing captures that better than the moment everything changes for Fujino. Fujino slips that rude doodle under Kyomoto's door, expecting humiliation. Instead, the door opens and Kyomoto comes out calling her Fujino-sensei! She's shaking, rambling, overflowing with anxiety and admiration, talking about how she read Fujino's 4-panel manga every week, how her Sasaki series kept getting better, never realizing she was the very reason Fujino pushed herself so hard. What follows is pure cinematic electricity. Fujino walks, then speeds up, then breaks into a sprint through the rain, splashing puddles, dragging her hand through water, the music swelling like her heart, finally waking up. It's not joy. It's not pride. It's resurrection. For the first time in years, she gets home and she draws. Not for praise or competition, but because Kyomoto reminded her what it feels like to be alive again. But of course, life doesn't freeze in that beautiful moment. Fujino and Kyomoto grow up, and unfortunately, they grow in different directions. Kyomoto wants art school. She wants to evolve, explore, and breathe creatively. Fujino becomes successful, gets her manga serialized, shark kick, very subtle reference. Kyomoto wants freedom. Fujino wants stability. And just like that, the gap forms. Not because they hurt each other, not because they failed each other, but because they became different people. It's not a betrayal, it's life painfully simple. The alternate universe part in Look Back is funny because everyone has their own galaxy brain explanation for it. Some people genuinely believe Fujino pulled a full on multiverse jump, rewrote the timeline, and saved Kyomoto like she suddenly unlocked New Game Plus reality bending powers. But the other interpretation, the one that hits harder, is that none of it is real. It's Fujino doing what all of us do when we lose someone we love, rewriting the past in our heads, constructing a gentler world, a softer world, a world where tragedy politely steps aside. And whether you read it literally or metaphorically, the point is the same. It's the perfect world they never got to live in. A world where they meet again. They create without fear. They grow without drifting apart. And nothing breaks. But Look Back doesn't let us stay there. Because life doesn't let us stay there. Sooner or later, you have to return to the timeline you're actually in. The one where people leave, the one where guilt settles in your chest, the one where what if will always echo quietly in the background. And that's what makes Fujino's final realization so powerful. She can't save Kyomoto in another universe. She can't undo what happened. She can't rewrite reality. But she can keep drawing. She can keep creating. She can carry the part of Kyomoto that shaped her, not as a burden, but as something sacred. And that's what the alternate universe really is. Not a fantasy escape, not a plot twist, but Fujino finally learning to move forward without letting go.